Hey guys, Good Guy Dan here. Tonight I'm going to start building the BTF full saber for the MG Quanta. This guy right here is my Quanta. It's not my client's Quanta, but gives you an idea what the final kit's going to look like. And we're going to start by cutting some parts out of the sprues. Typically when I'm building a kit that I've built before, or a simple one, I just cut everything out of the sprues and then assemble it after the fact. I don't really go by the directions. So, one of my big complaints with this kit is that the clear green plastic is very, very hard and brittle. You can hear it when I cut into the sprue. And the concern with that is that you might crack the plastic and take too much out of it. And with clear plastic particularly, you really can't touch it up with putty because it's clear. So I'm going to show you what I do to clean up these clear pieces. You can do it a couple different ways. I'm going to show you the way that I've been using on this kit so far. That's by using a really high grit file. So once I have my part out, I'm going to turn the excess off with my nippers. At the same time, I don't want to cut into the plastic with a part, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that very successfully. Just take off a little at a time. You can see the nubs left over on the plastic down here. Just going to go at it very gently with the X-Acto knife. Trim any excess away. You can see there is kind of an ugly stress mark on the edge there, and that's unavoidable to a degree, but with some polish you can usually get them out. Now, despite the tip of this being really well pointed, the edges are actually fairly broad. So, conceivably you could, with enough patience, go through and sand the edges down to more of a point. So I'm going to start out with some alpha abrasive files. This is a newer file. The grit's a lot higher. As the files break down, the grit becomes smoother and smoother. So I like to use a couple different files at any given time. And as they need smoother and smoother grits, you just move to older files. And it does a good job, and these things last forever. I've had these files for maybe 20 master grade kits, so, and they still do a good job. miss these ones at the end. Another issue I have with this kit is the nub marks on this BTF kit are much larger than a Bandai kit. And I get the feeling it's because whoever manufactures these kits doesn't have the same plastic molding injection technology that Bandai has, so they're just not quite as precise. The overall quality of this kit is comparable to what a Bandai kit was in the early 2000s, like maybe 2002, 2003, so I have a really opaque finish right now because of all the really fine scratches left over from sanding with this file. And this is a really high grit file. I think this is either 12,000 or 15,000 grit. So it's not going to take a whole lot of material off, but given enough time, you can really polish these clear parts back up to a gloss. The other alternative, and I have a tutorial on my blog, is to use clear acrylic like a Future Floor Shine and just kind of dunk the parts in it and then allow them to dry on paper toweling to wick away the excess, and the Future Floor will fill in any of those little micro scratches. The other thing I'm noticing is there's a little indent down here, and you can tell that the mold wasn't filled out completely with the plastic before the part cured. So I'm going to go back in there with my file and just polish it until it goes away. And this occurs even on Bandai kits. If you hear people talking about a sink mark, this is a sink mark. Although on Bandai kits, typically they're not this bad. Okay, sink mark's just about gone. You can still see, depending on how it reflects in the light, two little points there and there. And this is another high grit file. Let's see if this has a faster effect than the first file. Yes, it does. Now this is definitely bringing back some of the clarity of the clear piece, but it looks like I'm going to have to go ahead and give this the Future Floor method to completely bring back the clarity of the clear part. But the nub has been removed, and a lot of the stress mark has been polished off, so it's nearly invisible. And once the Future gets in there, it might fill it in enough where you might not notice it at all. So that's one way of doing the clear edges. Now, like I mentioned before, I built one of these kits previously for my own Quanta, for Pet Quanta, and I did a review of it. And basically, the synopsis of my review was, it looks good. It's not a great kit, but the big issue is that this kit is not really designed well to be held by the Quanta. The handle of the sword, this chunk right here, doesn't really fit in the hand, and the part's so heavy that unless you plan on modifying a hand, or maybe buying another one, or stealing one off of an MG00 riser, because that has static hands and this has trigger finger split hands, you're really not going to be able to get the kit to hold it. So it just kind of sits there on the shoulder, and it's a nice counterbalance to the sword bits, because until you paint or modify this kit, what you'll find is that this is so heavy the kit will be weighed down and always be at an angle. So other than using it as a counterweight, we're just displaying it with the sword on the shoulder. There's really not much you can do with it. So, but this is a commission kit, so that's what the client wanted. And, agreeably, sword looks cool enough. But personally, I just don't think it's, worth the $30–40 you might spend to acquire and have this kit shipped over from China or Hong Kong. It would be nice if Bandai put out a kit, like an add-on kit, limited edition thing through their online shop or something. Because I don't think this has enough of a following to justify a full release on its own. Although, who knows? You know how Bandai loves reissuing molds. We've had how many versions of the MG Unicorn at this point? So, who knows? Speaking of which, online shops and reissuing old molds, the MG Exia R2 was recently announced. Well, recently as in a couple weeks back, and I pre-ordered one, so that's going to be something coming up on the channel. Do an unbox of that. The MG Exia is one of my favorite kits, so I'll do a let's build of that design and give you something to look forward to. It should be interesting, and it's really not all that different than the regular MG. Just slightly different design to some of the extremities, and the new sword and hips are a little bit different, but I don't think it's going to be all that different. So I always wanted to finish my Setsuna series, and I don't think I had a whole lot of time to work on that. I still have MG00 that's in my closet that I want to finish, and I'd like to go back and do the XER1 again. This is a really heavy duty file, this blue one here, just to get the little end piece cleaned up quickly. I'll give it a quick sand. This part down here should not be visible on the finished design, so I'm not too concerned how it looks. I will say the one thing I really like about this kit is just how sharp and pointed these clear bits are. With the Master Grade release, the sword bits on that, they need some sharpening. They need something. And it's not that hard to do, and they're easy to polish and clean up. But it's nice that with this kit at least they come pre-sharpened. The only downside, of course, is that the tips are very narrow and probably prone to breaking. Alright guys, this video is getting to be about 20 minutes long, so I'm going to cut it about here, and when I come back for part 2, you'll see these parts have been completely sanded, and I'm going to show you the future floor method for cleaning up these little micro scratches left over from sanding. So it's a good technique. I've already done a tutorial on my blog, which there will be a link in the description, but you know, perhaps by doing a video tutorial it'll reach more people, or it'll be a little bit easier to understand. So until then guys, this is Good Guy Dan signing off.